How's it going, everybody? I'm the BTC Reaper, and my goal on this channel is to teach you how to reap the rewards of trading, whether the price is going up or down. THORChain soars 8% as DeFi exchange lifts trading pause. THORSwap suspended trading last Friday after illicit funds linked to the FTX exploit in November 2022 were allegedly passed through the exchange. They have since resumed trading yesterday, with an update to their terms of service, adding some extra guardrails to prevent the flow of illicit funds and have legal compliance. This is good because, in addition to blockchain illicit funds, the THORSwap team also updated the terms of service to block users from countries sanctioned by the US. So those two things bring them more in line in compliance, and this brings THORSwap in parity with other leading industry dexes such as Uniswap, 1inch, PancakeSwap, and the other few. SEC won't appeal Grayscale Bitcoin ETF ruling, says reports. The SEC does not plan to file a last-minute appeal challenging an August court ruling that makes it more likely crypto asset manager Grayscale could be cleared for a Bitcoin ETF, according to reports from Reuters and Bloomberg citing unnamed sources, so take it with a grain of salt. They do have until midnight to appeal the ruling, but even if the SEC does not appeal the Grayscale ruling, they can still say that they want to reject the ETF based on different grounds later. So this isn't just a green light. If they don't appeal tonight, there still could be some headwinds ahead. Tether CEO steps down, naming Paulo Adrino as successor as stablecoin issuer. Adrino will formally assume his leadership role beginning in December, continuing to operate as CTO. He also remains CTO of crypto exchange Bitfinex and Chief Strategy Officer of Punch, an app development platform. Meanwhile, Van der Velde will continue to act as an advisor while retaining the role of CEO of the crypto exchange Bitfinex, where he steered the helm since 2013. So it looks like they're kind of separating things up a little bit. He'll still help out with Bitfinex, but it looks like Adrino will start having more focus on Tether and helping Tether grow. So onto the charts. We are trying to push forward. We have a little bit of a green candle on the Dixie, nothing too exciting, just a 0.09%. We have made a pretty decent retracement. We're right up against resistance. So this could be an inverted, head and shoulders, sorry, not inverted. This head and shoulders could break us down and push us down below to around this support resistance area below our Fibonacci zone, like I have been warning about. Our momentum's starting to roll over, RSI is starting to come down, our stochastic does want to head up, and our VWAP is in the bullish territory, so the VWAP is going good for us, and the money flow is sustaining bullish action. But if you look at the money flow, it is making a bit of a slide. So even though we're trying to pump up, overall, money flow is starting to creep out. If that trend continues, we're likely going to see it drop down. Over on our total, we are getting a little bit of a retracement candle, just stopping short of a tweezer bottom. We may yet have a tweezer bottom possibility. We got rejected by our EMA yet again. We tried to cross over and we are holding under. If we are not followed by a strong green candle after this, it is very likely our next move is going to be down. RSI is overall trending out. Stochastics overall pushing down. It does want to make a bullish cross. Our money flow is overall in a bearish trend, and that VWAP is still in the bearish territory. It is coming up, but it could come into resistance here around this -8. If it does meet resistance and starts to curl, then we could see continual bearish action. We could still see the VWAP come up a little bit and see continual bearish action, but we would have bullish candles ahead of us, kind of like back here. Our VWAP was bearish, it came back up, went bullish, not very slightly, but we did get some bullish action. So if we do have that, we start seeing green candles, that could happen again. We would look for a rejection under that high to confirm a continuation of the downtrend. Over on Bitcoin dominance, we are coming down a little bit after making a little bit of a rebound, so we could have further downside yet. That could just be our retracement candle. We are starting to pull back on some resistance. This could be a little mini head and shoulders here that could drop us down, so I would keep an eye if we pull back into this pattern. If we do, then we may form some sort of other pattern. This could be more of an ascending channel. If I could grab the right line here, it could end up forming more of an ascending channel. The ascending channel could end up pushing us down, so I would be weary of that possibility. That could break us down to around that black EMA level, which is our lowest EMA level. Over on Bitcoin futures, we are getting a manipulation X. We are getting somewhat stopped away from our EMAs. We did try to break through all of them, but we got rejected by every single one of them. Stochastic's starting to come out. RSI is coming out. Our momentum's overall pushing down, and our VWAP is maintaining bearish action. With this VWAP maintaining the bearish strength and the money flow maintaining bearish strength, our price action is likely going to continue a bearish trend. We do have a bit of an ascending channel here, so that ascending channel could end up breaking us down if we do continue up and get some sort of a freak break out of this. Then we would likely start to pull back and then finally see that gap fill. Our VWAP, like I said, heavy in the bearish territory. It is trying to rebound though, so watch if it breaks above this negative 11. That was a point of support for it in several occasions. So if we're not able to break above and hold, then we could see a rejection. And money flow maintaining the red bearish strength is showing that we have more selling action going on than buying in futures, and that can lead into Bitcoin because usually futures drives Bitcoin price. Over on Bitcoin, we did reject a kind of break back away from our pattern, so we could have a confirmation if we get a red candle and continue down from there. Our stochastics overall coming out, RSI is overall trending away, that money flow is rejecting that neutral, and our VWAP is maintaining bearish strength. That VWAP is coming into some resistance around this negative 13 area. If we are not able to break above this area very strong and hold, we could see a bit of a dip away from here. However, if we do break through this, I would watch for some sort of hang up around that neutral. If we do hang up at either point, it is likely we would continue a bearish trend. Over on the 4 hour, you can see that wick is very recent. We did come up, try to hit these EMAs that are all banded together. They acted as a very strong resistance area, and we are starting to pull back. We did reject this higher EMA, and we did pull back before with this red candle, so this was a second attempt to break past that zone that got rejected. That could have made some sort of cup and handle, that could have made a cup here, that could have made a handle, and that could help propel us forward. But that does not look like it's going to be the case now. We do have a possibility that this could be like an inverted head and shoulder, shoulder, head, shoulder, but it may have had a rejection from a breakout here. So I would watch the next candle closely. Stochastic is starting to kind of round away. RSI is starting to lose some steam. That VWAP is in the bullish territory, but it's starting to hang up at this 10.4 level. If we start to hang up here and see further pullback, then it is very likely the bearish action will resume. That momentum does have a green dot as our VWAP's pushing decent, but is in a spot where we can meet resistance, so that could get invalidated. I would watch very closely on the lower time frames. Our money flow is starting to pull away and starting to push down toward the bearish territory. If that continues in the lower time frames, we are likely going to see further downside. Over on the 2 hour, almost the tweezer top here. If we continue down right around that bottom, we could confirm a tweezer top. If that does happen, we could set up a pretty strong move down. However, if we do close like this, there is still a slight possibility to come back up. Our stochastic is starting to make a bearish cross and head down. RSI is starting to head down. That momentum is starting to taper away, and that VWAP is starting to fall after hitting the 17, like 17.8, almost 18 zone, where it's met a couple of times before and started to pull back from. So I would watch the zone. Right here, it wasn't that strong of a pullback. Right around here, that did start this downtrend. And right around here, that started the downtrend before that. So this could show that we may start going somewhat sideways, chopping near the top of this pattern, and then ultimately rejecting it. Over on the 1 hour, our stochastic has a bearish cross and it's starting to come back down. We are getting a bit of a confirmation candle and a rounding top forming here. If you're not familiar with these rounding tops, smash that like, join us in the Discord, and we'll have some resources you can use. That momentum is starting to roll over with a red dot. VWAP is in the bearish territory, and our money flow was trying to go bullish, but it's starting to reject away. If this money flow makes a lower high and then comes back down for a new lower low, we could start a new bearish trend here. Over on graph for the daily, we are coming back up to our support resistance area. We'll get back into that in the lower time frames. RSI is starting to slide, stochastic starting to slide. It does have a bullish cross, so that does want to gain some action. We'll have to see if that can gain some weight. Otherwise, we may see continual rejection. That VWAP does want to break to the bullish side. It's kind of hanging under this neutral though, so I would watch very closely. If this VWAP starts to pull away on our lower time frames, it's very likely that double bottom possibility will not play out. But with us getting this green candle, that is a little bit hopeful for that possibility to help push us to the upside. That momentum does want to curl up. With that VWAP trying to push that neutral, that could get a green dot to push us forward and bring our money flow back up into the bullish territory. But again, watch these lower time frames. The 4 hour, we are trying to break this. We're trying to break it right now. Actually, we keep fluttering back and forth. If you just saw that, if the 4 hour can break through this and keep above it, then that would be a confirmation above our higher EMA, which then we may come back down, test it, try to make it support. If we make it support, confirm it, and continue up, then we would have a pretty decent move to continue forward. This may be setting some sort of inverted head and shoulders here. So this could be a shoulder head. We may jump up a little bit, jump back down, make another shoulder, and then possibly see a breakout after tomorrow. We'd have to see. Stochastic's trying to round away. RSI wants to trend up. That VWAP wants to push forward. That's not financial advice, by the way. That inverted head and shoulders isn't even guaranteed to happen. And if it does happen, it's still not guaranteed to play out. Remember, every pattern's not 100%. Take your own risk. Our money flow is trying to head toward that neutral. It does want to go bullish, but it's starting to kind of taper out and flatten. If that continues with our VWAP starting to come back down and the momentum starting to lose some strength, then the money flow will come back down, maintain its bearish action, and keep us locked in this kind of sideways downside drop. So we could just go sideways, down, sideways, down. We could have a trend where we keep doing that. We did that here, dropped a little bit quicker, a little bit longer here. Here we kind of crabbed out, then dropped, so I would watch out. We could be set up for a pretty violent drop in the next few candles. So that pattern isn't necessarily guaranteed to happen. Over on the 2 hour, we were above our support zone. We are coming down to kind of test it. If we get a green candle on our next candle, then we would bounce and continue forward. Our stochastic is trying to round away. It wants to make a bearish cross. If that does happen, we will see continual downside most likely. Especially since our RSI is starting to come down, momentum is starting to round away. Our VWAP is struggling to maintain any kind of range above this 9.43 zone. If our VWAP is not able to break above this zone and hold, then we are likely going to see a continual push to the downside. We have several spots where we kind of flatten out and drop, so that could be the trend. If you see VWAP starting to roll over, I would watch out for lower lows and a break of this lower EMA. The money flow is getting close to the neutral, and that wants to break bearish as well. So if everything else starts to pull out, then money flow is likely going to break to the bearish side and start a bearish trend. On the 1 hour, we do look a little more hopeful with the money flow. Oop, did not want to move that. We look a little more hopeful with the money flow here on the 1 hour. We are starting to pull away from this higher EMA. We did manage to break towards. We broke through several of them. Our lower EMA is above 2 of the higher EMAs. If we manage to break above this one, we are likely going to see some sort of pullback because that's a pretty quick move in my opinion, but that doesn't necessarily need to happen. Our momentum setting up bearish divergences, stochastic setting up bearish divergences. We have a red dot in our momentum that wants to bring us down. Our VWAP is starting to break into the bearish territory, and the money flow is going kind of flat at this 8.8 zone, and it really can't get much more buying pressure. If our VWAP breaks to the bearish side and our momentum continues to slide from here, our money flow is likely going to head toward that neutral. If we make a new low beyond these lows we had here, we could be set up for a pretty decent move to the downside, and we could start another bearish trend like back here. Over on Anchor for the daily, we are trying to test our pattern. We were not able to break through it, so this could be a retest and a rejection. Watch for tomorrow's candle for any kind of rejection, and then the candle after that would be a confirmation of your rejection. We are getting bearish divergences on stochastic. Our momentum's getting bearish divergence. Stochastic's pushing down. RSI's sliding. Momentum's heavy in the bearish territory. That VWAP is in the bearish territory. It's getting lower highs. It is maintaining bearish action. It's maintaining below the neutral. We're getting higher lows though, so if we get a higher high, we could get a bullish trend. But if it just gets a lower high and continues to kind of move between these zones, we could just start zigzagging down like you've seen on lower time frames. That money flow is clinging onto the bullish territory. Very little action. It's very close to that neutral. Had to zoom way in for you to actually see it. We're getting a little bit of a dip here, so if the lower time frames can signal bullish action, that could pick up, but is dangerously close to breaking down. Over on the 4 hour, we are breaking above this higher EMA. We tried to break into our pattern, so we'll have to see if we can get a bit of a pullback or if we get another candle to push us in and hold us through. If we do push back in, watch for a bounce and then a retest where we bounce off support and then continue forward. If we do not get a retest, then it is very likely this will be a rejection point and we will continue down. Stochastic is starting to round away. RSI wants to continue up, but it doesn't really have much more room that stochastic can go, so it may begin a little overbought and the RSI may start to slide. Our VWAP is in the bullish territory, money flow's pushing in the bullish territory, and our momentum's pushing pretty strong. Those three things are doing pretty decent, but they're starting to kind of taper out here. They're all kind of tapering around this 14.82 zone. We've met resistance here before where we started to slide. So I would keep a close eye on this. If we are not able to continue through this zone and we meet resistance here, it is likely we would be set up for a drop to the downside. Over on the 2 hour, you can see we broke into our flag and then we are breaking out. Our next candle would be pretty important. If we continue forward, we may confirm a bullish trend. However, if we break down, that could confirm that this ascending channel that we're in is about to get exhausted and fall. As stochastic is getting a bearish cross, it wants to start to head down, so I would watch for it to roll under. That RSI is starting to point down as a result. and the momentum is starting to come down because our VWAP is heading toward that neutral and heading toward bearish territory. We are getting lower highs on our VWAP, so if that continues, we could break to the bearish side, and with the money flow falling in line with it, we could break pretty drastically. Over on the 1 hour, we have a gap to the lower, right around this 1872 that we could fill. We came up, filled that 1877 gap, and then we went a little more ballistic, but now we have 2 more gaps to the downside besides our other gap below us. So now that we filled that higher gap, tried to break resistance, did not manage to confirm it as support, we could have a trend to the downside in store for us. As stochastic starting to get a bearish cross, we have a double red dot on momentum as our VWAP has fallen into the bearish territory, and our money flow is starting to get lower highs and lower lows, so it is starting a bearish trend, which would put us in jeopardy of breaking lower if that continues. Over on XRP for the daily, we're getting a little bit of a bounce here too as well, so really all the markets getting a little bit of a bounce like I've been telling you to watch out for the last couple of days, so hopefully you've been listening. We are trying to make a little bit of a bounce after trying to get toward this value area low. That is to be expected. If we continue up through the CMA level, we could pick up some bullish action. Our RSI is overall sliding though, stochastic's heavy in that bearish territory. That VWAP does want to head toward the bullish territory, but it's starting to meet some resistance right around the 7 zone. If it starts around here, VWAP's likely going to start to pull away, and our money flow would likely start to continue down with momentum falling away. Over on the 4 hour, we are trying to break this higher EMA and rejecting it, so I would keep an eye on that. Stochastic does have a bullish cross and that is running up pretty decently, but price action isn't really going too far, so we could be setting up bullish divergence that could be in our favor, but that might just take us to resistance for another retest. We're going to have to kind of watch. If we do get a pretty strong straight shot up, we could make a cup and a handle here, which could push us back into our pattern. Our VWAP is trying to continue forward with higher highs, so VWAP is in a little bit of a bullish trend as we have higher highs and higher lows. Money flow is maintaining that bearish strength though, so I would keep an eye on that. If the lower time frames signal that we have weakness, it is very likely that this short-term bullish move could get exhausted relatively quickly. The momentum does want to push forward as that VWAP's trying to continue forward, but it looks like it's slightly getting a bit exhausted as we are right around the 17 zone. We pulled back right back here. That started this downtrend there. We were back here, started a downtrend there, but we did break above it a couple of other times, so we could have a little bit more of a run. That's why I said watch for a kind of cup and handle possibility. Over on the 2 hour, we are getting a rejection off this EMA. We are trying to bounce off the lower EMA, but I would watch the next candle. If we fall through both these EMAs with that candle, it is very likely we would continue to trend to the downside after meeting resistance here, which could carve out some sort of a bear flag. Our stochastic is starting to round away. Our RSI is starting to round off. Our momentum is starting to lose steam as our VWAP is starting to come back down after getting a relatively new high as of very recent history. So if we come back down, break this 14.6 zone, it is very likely we'll see continual price action to the bearish side. Our money flow is in the bearish territory still, which is putting us in jeopardy of seeing lower price targets. This 1 hour, we are breaking below our EMA, our lowest EMA level. If that continues and it's confirmed with another red candle, we are likely going to break these other EMAs, at which point we'll start to curl out. Stochastic is starting to push down with a bearish cross, bringing our RSI down. That momentum does have a red dot as our VWAP is trying to peek into the bearish territory with our money flow. If these things continue to fall into the bearish territory and get a lower low, we could start a new bearish trend. However, if we make a bounce here, we could start a new bullish trend and continue forward to try to make that higher kind of candle move like I mentioned before. Over on Algo, we have a green candle here rejecting our EMA level. RSI is overall falling. Stochastic's pretty beat down, but it does have a bullish cross. That VWAP is trying to head up with that money flow, so we want to get a little bit of bullish action here. We're going to have to pay very close attention to the next couple candles and the lower time frames. The momentum does want to round up and bring us back up, but that will be heavily dependent on that VWAP. Over on the 4 hour here, we got a pretty drastic move up and then we just crashed down. So these moves all across what we've covered tonight with these candles are long upper shadow candles. If you're not familiar with those, again, smash that like and join us in the Discord because we have resources that'll help, but right now I'll help you. That long upper shadow candle shows that bulls tried to push us forward and the bears ultimately gained and won. So the bears ultimately suppress us back down and the bulls were not able to make price action move. Back here we had the inverse, a long lower shadow candle, which bears tried to bring us down, but the bulls ultimately won up. Now this was a stronger victory than this could be, but that's why it's going to be important to see if we get a red candle following this. Hard size starting to head out, VWAP starting to head out, money flow starting to reject away from that neutral, and the momentum is starting to curl out, so I would watch things. Over on the 2 hour, we have bearish engulfing candle that could confirm. If that confirms, we're likely going to be followed with a red candle, which could push us lower. Stochastic is starting to round away, our RSI is starting to fall, momentum starting to push down, that VWAP starting to get lower highs, and trending down toward that neutral, so it wants to cross and push us lower. Our money flow is in the bearish territory, so overall we do look a bit exhausted. With that VWAP coming down, money flow maintaining bearish action, that momentum's likely going to get a red dot and we could see continual bearish action. Over on the 1 hour, we are rounding off pretty decently, so if we lose this zone right here, it is very likely we'll hit support at the minimum. Stochastic's making divergences left and right. It wants to round out and come back down. Our momentum wants to come back down. RSI wants to come out. That VWAP's falling pretty drastically, and the money flow is peaking in the bearish territory. It's overall stretched pretty thin though. We are overall looking at things. We could be in a bit of a bear flag from this push over here. I would watch that. If that does form a bit of a bear flag, that is likely going to push us away from this flag that we're within, and we could have lower price targets in store for us then. Thank you for watching tonight's video. I hope you have a wonderful night.